Welcome to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
I'm your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
Always a pleasure to host with you.
Yes, it is. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. Always a pleasure to let the community know that we have some great sponsors.
And we do.
Lee Cossack and Crawley. Not only that, we have Stuart Mortuary, who's been with us for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
Then we have the Fervent Care Christian Academy, who's all been with us just as long.
Yeah, Christian, clean, caring, and convenient.
And if you want to be a part of this, just give us a call and we'll make sure that you become a sponsor. You can participate in Real People, Real Voices. A great community show.
It is, and we also want to encourage you to go to our YouTube channel at WHMB TV 40 and subscribe. You can watch this show when it's over as well as others that you might have missed.
Right.
Just all kinds of information over the last couple of years.
The last couple of years, you can go back and get the inaugural show. I think that was Dr. Virginia Kane that was on that show.
Yeah, it was an outstanding show.
Outstanding show, and we've been rolling ever since. God has kept us, and we're grateful for his keeping power.
And we want to encourage you to go to our Facebook page and like us on Facebook.
And he looks phenomenal on Facebook.
Well, they have
Check him out.
They have algorithms to help enhance your presence. And we want to thank you for watching us on Sundays at 5:30 p.m. and on Friday nights at 9:30 p.m. We ask you to continue to do that. We're going to be joined by an extraordinary guest. Ms. Tracetta Briggs going to be joining us to talk about high performance.
Yes, and I want to find out what that means.
Yeah.
Because I want to start performing at a high level. I hope I have some skills that will push me in that area.
Well, she's the coach and has a company that can help identify.
And I am very much coachable.
We'll see. We'll let her be the judge.
Okay.
We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm your host, James Jackson.
And I'm your co-host, Pastor Wayne Moore.
And we are joined by Ms. Tracetta Briggs. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for the offer. It's a pleasure to be here.
Happy to have you.
Yeah. And you're a fellow IWU, having attended there and graduated.
Absolutely. IWU fam. So excited to be here, and it's good to know that you are a fam.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a lot of us out there, but it's always nice to meet another one.
I'm not going to let y'all do that to me.
Hey, well.
We're getting a football team, too. Let's talk about performance, because I've heard of life coaches, and you have strength coaches, and all different kind of, in fact, coaching is a buzzword, it's big now. But this is the first time I've heard of performance coaching. So talk to us about performance coaching and what precipitated this idea.
Well, you know, one of the things I did in corporate America for over 20 years was to work with people in performance situations. I worked with organizations that were in some sort of transition, and they were either struggling because they were in a transformation, they were even in bankruptcy once, and there were other things that were going on. So there was always this big focus on performing well so you could overcome something. So that's what I got really good at doing. And when I decided to leave corporate America and launch my business, I really asked God to lead me on what I wanted to be doing in my business and what I should be doing, and how He could allow me to use my gifts and then, of course, my professional strengths to do that business well. And so what He put on my heart was performance, the word performance. It just kept coming into my head. And so because I was really trying to align my life with Him and what He had for me to do, I kept thinking about the Trinity and the 3 services I have, the 3 products that I plan to offer. So Performance 3 came out of that. So one of the natural progressions and outgrowths from Performance 3 is that part of it is a coaching, part of it is speaking, and part of it is training. And so performance coaching became what I do. I also have a coaching model and product that I got patented by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office because I was very passionate about it. So that's how performance coaching came for me and the service I offer through my business. Now, coaching itself, I want to say it's not, the skill sets that are used for any type of coaching are basically the same. You know, you have to have certain skill sets to be a good coach. but some people just use it for different reasons. Some use it to help people with life. Some people use it to help people with business. Some people use it to help people with performance, specifically either in business or individual. So the coaching itself is a skill that is required, that you have this certain skill to be a coach, but you can just do it in different ways. Does that all make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does one reach a level for qualification for you to coach?
How does a person
Yeah, how does
reach
a
the
person,
level for
how
me
does
to
an
coach
applicant
them,
become,
or-
yeah. Or is there
Well-
such thing as a level to get there?
Well, you know, that's a great question. And I don't know that you have to be at a certain level, other than, as you said earlier, you have to be coachable. You have to want to do something significantly different with your performance to be coachable. In fact, I've coached some people in the past who weren't quite ready to be coached, and you could tell, because they would not shift their mindset, they would not think about doing things differently, and so that's not coachable, and they're not ready for a performance coach. So you have to have a certain mindset to be ready to be coached. And
So-
if you're ready to, and you agree that you want to do something different, then you're ready to be coached.
The dictionary calls that stubborn.
That's
I think that's what the dictionary calls it, isn't it?
it's stubborn, and it's also a mindset, you know, that we have. Because that's one of the things we do first, is we work with people on shifting their mindset. Because you know that little story about the train, you know, I think I can, I think I can.
Yeah.
So if you think you can't, if your mind is telling you you can't, you can't. You never will be able to. But if your mind is telling you you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, then you are going to be able to do what you can do. Coaching will only enhance that for you. So it's not about telling people what to do. A lot of people get confused with what coaching really means. It's not the same as a coach for a basketball team telling people to get out there and do this, get out there and do that. It is about us helping you understand and discover things for yourself through powerful questions, powerful tools, so you decide, I want to shift, and I understand what I need to do that.
So, what kind of process does this look like when you start evaluating someone to go from being a low performer, or maybe just a performer, to a high performer? How many stages are we talking about? What does something like that look like?
Well, you guys have some great questions.
Yeah.
I love it. The process for determining what level you're in is that I just sit down with you, or someone on my team sits down with you, and we talk about what you want to do. And we assess your mindset, where you are you ready? What is it that you're struggling with? What are the barriers you're facing? Those mental barriers are strong sometimes, and they go deep. You know, I even had a mental barrier myself before I started trying to be a business owner. So it's first sitting down and talking about what you really want to do and assessing whether or not you are ready for high performance. Coaching is something that allows you to be a high performer, but we have two other services that allow you to. It's 3 services total. We do integrated speaking, training, and coaching. And here's the way it works. The speaking is all about inspiring a mindset of high performance and shifting so that you're able to do it. Because again, you can't really do anything if your mindset is not into it. Once you get that mindset that you want to high perform, then the training is about what do you do to build the skills, the competencies, the things you need, the actions, the new behaviors to actually high perform in the areas that you want to. And then the coaching kind of runs throughout those two to help you sustain what you have learned, sustain that mindset, sustain those new actions and behaviors and skills, and then actually choose those the next time you get into a situation where you would have chose to do something else, but now because of your new learnings about self-discovery and what you need to do, choose to do something else that's going to help you be a higher performer.
Phenomenal.
You know, Dr. Moore, when you listen to this, we have church teams and you have
Right.
staffs.
Right.
And, you know, I'm thinking, and we may be able to talk about this more in the next segment, are these principles transferable to ministry? We know that a lot of times you
In the
can go
business culture.
in the corporate
Yeah.
situation, you can see a low performer. But how do you do a church team and say, here's a low performer here? Or I don't think you'd say it that way, but is there a way to take church teams from being low performing teams to high performing teams? Or or are those principles applicable to a situation like that?
They absolutely are. And honestly, I work with some church organizations or religious institutions. And we find that when you put it into a church setting, you are not necessarily using the same language you might in corporate America or for other organizations or companies. You talk more about spiritual gifts, because in a church setting, that's really what you want to be using, right?
Yeah.
So if you are not using, if you don't understand them first, if you don't know what they are, your gifts, and if you are not in a position to use them, then you are not really high performing. And here's another thing that...
Let's put a pin right there.
Yes.
We got to take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll be back after this. Welcome back. We are with Trissetta Briggs. And before the break, we're talking about spiritual gifts and taking the coaching principles for high performance and applying them to church teams. And you were saying that the spiritual gifts. Talk more about that.
Sure, sure. And first of all, I learned my spiritual gifts because I feel that unless I have somewhat gone through this process myself, I really can't help anyone else through it. So I learned my spiritual gifts so I could best do what I believe God wants me to do. But as I was sharing, when it's in a church setting, it's more about those spiritual gifts. So first of all, learn them, and then try to determine how best can they be used. And there's a series of tools that we use to try to assess that in conversations and other things that we do to determine where there might be a best fit. But the overall goal is high performance. But that only happens if you understand what the term means.
That was my next question.
And that term, well, I read your mind.
Yes,
See that?
thank you.
Was that high performance?
Yeah, that was high performance.
High performance, really, the general term means that you're going beyond the norm. Now, we are all in tune to continuous improvement, and we want that. But high performance is something beyond that continuous improvement. It's something way beyond what you would normally do, so you can be your very best. And unless you understand what that means for you, then it's very hard to do. So with companies that I work with, we first sit down with leadership, and we try to figure out, what does high performance mean to them? You know, how's that defined? And we often find that if it's 5 people in a room, they have 5 different definitions. So everybody has to get into unity about what that is. And once that's defined at that level, then we can help other people figure out what it is for them and align it with that company or organization's needs. So it's all about making sure that everybody understands it the same way and there's no gap in it that makes it elusive and hard for people to achieve.
In the business world, it's all about producing a product. Are you with me? And performing to get the product. Don't you find in business settings that those who are in leadership ignore the personality that does that? Is that a good question?
Let me make sure I understand it correctly.
Yeah, you want a high performance. You want the product through high performance.
Yes.
But you don't take the time to develop the people to do that. Do you run across that?
That is something I encounter all the time,
Okay.
and therein lies the problem.
Right.
You have to invest. A lot of people invest a lot of good time and energy into developing strategies, which is great. But you have to invest that same time and energy into developing the people who are going to carry out the strategies.
strategy, right.
So if you don't do that, there will be a gap. You know, if you just sit in a great room with big minds and ideas and you come out with great strategies, right? However, if the people that are going to carry them out, you haven't sat down with them and done the same types of things and helped them align what they're doing to what that high performance looks like for achieving that strategy, you know what they say. culture eats strategy for lunch. So it does not happen the way it was hoped, and so the intentions don't fit
Yes, ma'am.
what was hoped for.
Yeah.
Going back to the church setting, as it relates to creating spiritual performance in believers, even the word performance takes a different twist, I would think, as it relates to the church.
Yes.
How do you precipitate that among members after they discover their gifts that you try to make plain to them?
I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier. It's more about ministry and excellence and decent and in order and those types of things, because if I have a gift and I'm not using it in the right place, then I'm taking somebody else's opportunity to use their gift.
Right.
So we got to have the right people in the right places doing that. So it is how can this be used effectively in ministry based on what the church is trying to do and the vision of the church, the leader of that church, and the other leaders. Sometimes there's a board or something. What is the leadership of the church trying to do? So it goes back to, let's sit down and talk about what we're trying to do first, because I could come in with all these great workshops, tools, strategies, all these other things. However, if I don't know what you're really trying to do and align that closely, it's just not going to happen. It's just going to be an exercise in formality.
A workshop.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how do you tell if you're ready for high performance?
You tell by, we started off kind of talking about that. If you are of the mindset that you know everything, that I've arrived, that
That's dangerous, isn't it?
it is a very dangerous mindset to be in, because we're
Very
constantly
dangerous.
learning. So if you're of that mindset, and if you're like a leader that I worked with in the past, they brought me in to talk about what they wanted to do. And I said, okay. And he said, I need you to fix them. I need you to do, I'm paraphrasing, I need you to do these things with my team. Now, doing this for a while, I knew that there were some things that leader was going to have to do differently. However, I didn't say that at that point. And when I came back after having conversations and observations with his team, there were some things that he needed to do. Now, this leader said, well, I didn't mean me. I meant them. And so I said, it does not happen unless you do it. So you have to go first. And luckily, he agreed that he would change and try to figure out what he could do differently. If that doesn't happen with that person or with that leader, they're not ready. They're not ready. I have to politely step away and just remain friends.
So you'll actually have to say that how do you just...
I actually have to tell them,
That
it's
you're a
hard
problem.
sometimes when you think about, okay, this is some great money, but if it's not going to be successful because their mindset isn't in the right place, you have to be willing, for them and for you, it's a disservice if you try to move forward. You have to be willing to say, I don't think you're ready for the type of work I do. And I've actually had to say that a couple of times.
Because they have arrived.
They think they got it going on.
They
I'm
think
like,
they-
Why is it? Why is it that when people have a few successes, I'm not talking about on a continuous basis, but just a few successes, why does it take them completely to the left? And everything that got them there is just not important anymore. The employees are just not that important anymore.
Yeah.
It's all about profits and gains. Why does that happen?
I think it happens when we lose touch and lose sight of who and whose we are. Now, some people don't believe in what we believe in. I stay grounded remembering that. I am on a journey. I might be further along that journey than I was, but I'm still on that journey. So if I forget where I came from and who is helping me, I am in danger of a downfall. Pride goeth before a fall. We know all about that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think they lose that when they forget, even if they don't believe in God like I do. Whatever they believe in, if they don't stay true to that, they're headed for a fall.
And you've seen that.
I've seen it.
Well, thank you so much. You've been a great guest.
Yes, you have.
Thanks for coming.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you both.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah, likewise. And thank you all for joining us every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. and on Friday nights at 9:30. We've got the rundown coming up, so stay with us. We'll be back after this.
That was powerful. That was a great performance there, James.
Thank you. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I want to thank you for joining us tonight, and we want to thank our sponsors, Lee Kossel and Crowley,
Yes, and the Stewart Mortuary, who has been handling bereavement in our city for over 40 years.
and the Fervent Care Christian Academy. Choose Christian, clean, caring child care.
Yes, it's a great place to take your child.
Absolutely.
After all said and done, it's a great school.
I want to thank you, Faith, for being such a wonderful executive producer.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for that
enjoy
last
it.
guest, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tracetta Briggs. She's amazing. She's very talented, very intelligent. She has so many connections here in Indianapolis. I just thought people should really know who she is. She's a woman of faith, and I'm really glad that we had an opportunity to bring her on the show.
Yeah, she went to some school, Wesleyan school.
Indiana West.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Don't hate that.
Yeah, so, but she had a great approach to coaching. And I think leaders can glean from what she offers as it relates to coaching and improving the environment that they control.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard of the performance coach. I've heard of other coaching
Yeah.
ideologies, but not performance. And I think that's right on point.
Yeah, taking somebody from stubbornness to performance. I think that's what she was
Kicking
doing.
and screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that we all need, or we all aspire to be leaders, but sometimes we don't want to have to go through the pain of becoming a leader.
Yeah, and somebody telling us
Absolutely.
these are the things you need to change.
Oh no, don't change.
Had 1 or 2 successes and I got it made now.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
We're just about out of time. We want to thank you for joining us Sunday nights at 5:30 and on Friday nights at 9:30 p.m. Also go to our YouTube channel, WHMB TV 40 on YouTube. Become a subscriber and like us on Facebook.
And like us on Facebook, especially this guy right here. He has a romantic affair with the camera.
Oh, Lord. Well, Real People, Real Voices. We'll see you next time.